is an urgent Kaiser emergency broadcast. Attention residents, containment breach has an announced signature. Your containment breach, residents, containment breach, imagine emergency broadcast.
He was supposed to die by firing squad on September 5th, 2025. After decades on death row, Ralph Menzies' fate seemed sealed. But in a dramatic turn, the Utah Supreme Court stepped in, vacating his execution warrant and ordering the state to pause. What happened? The Red Plaid Files will bring you the updates. This is the story of Utah's fourth scheduled firing squad execution and why it was turned down at the last moment. August 29th, 2025. In a landmark ruling, the Utah Supreme Court reversed a lower court decision that had denied Ralph Leroy Menzies' petition to re-evaluate his competency to be executed. It also vacated his scheduled execution warrant. In Mr. Menzies' case, the word vacated means that the Utah Supreme Court officially cancelled or set aside the execution warrant, making it legally void and no longer in effect. This action stopped any plans for Menzies' execution and required that the warrant be treated as if it never existed, at least for the purposes of future proceedings. Ralph Menzies was convicted of first-degree murder in 1988 and sentenced to death. For decades, appeals, reviews and stays delayed his execution, but in recent years his medical condition became the focus of the courts. Mr. Menzies was diagnosed with vascular dementia, a progressive neurocognitive disorder. This condition can cause severe memory loss, disorientation, and decline in reasoning, all of which raise questions about whether someone fully understands why they are being executed. The U.S. Supreme Court has long held that the Eighth Amendment forbids executing someone who cannot comprehend the reason for their punishment. In cases like Ford versus Wainwright, Panetti versus Quarterman, and Madison versus Alabama, the court affirmed that an inmate must have a rational understanding of the connection between their crime and their execution. The lower court initially ruled that Menzies was competent. But when his dementia rapidly progressed, his defense filed a new petition for re-evaluation. Despite compelling medical reports, the district court dismissed the request, ruling there was no substantial change. Days later, the court set an execution date of September 5th, 2025. Menzies appealed directly to Utah's highest court, and the justices allowed the case to be heard. They reviewed fresh evidence, expert testimony, that Menzies could no longer articulate why he faced death, often responding simply because they want to. His petition adequately alleged a substantial change of circumstances and raised a significant question as to his competency to be executed. We reverse and remand. The Utah Supreme Court sided with Menzies. They ruled that he had presented enough new evidence to merit another competency hearing. Importantly, they criticized the district court for weighing rebuttal evidence against his claims at the gatekeeping stage. Mr. Menzies' attorney says this ruling doesn't end the case. It sends it back for further proceedings, but it does affirm that constitutional protections against cruel and unusual punishment apply, even to those long sentenced to death. The justices went further. Because Menzies' right to be free from execution while potentially incompetent is so fundamental, they vacated the execution warrant entirely. The case of Ralph Leroy Menzies reflects the tension between justice for victims, the finality of capital punishment, and the evolving understanding of mental competence. 37 years after his conviction, his fate remains undecided, not by the nature of his crime, but by the state of his mind. The execution warrant against Ralph Menzies was vacated. His competency will be re-evaluated in further proceedings. The Supreme Court acknowledged the immense suffering that delays have caused the victim's family, but noted it was bound by the rule of law. Menzies was convicted of the 1986 kidnapping and murder of Maureen Hunsaker. What are your thoughts on Ralph Menzies' case and the halting of his execution? Join the conversation, leave a comment below, and share your perspective.